Grief for me is something that started in 2009 when I lost my nana. I don't want to say she is my very best friend. She is someone that I've always confided in, someone I can always go to. Me and her talked all day. We had such a tight-knit relationship that she was more almost like a sister to me than a grandma. She was like my number one person. So, I mean, we talked literally 7 times a day. So grief for me was when I lost her. I feel like when I lost her, in that moment, I lost a part of myself because she was so much a part of my life. I also was extremely young. I lost my grandmother at 14 years old. 14 going on 15. I was about to enter into high school, so everything was new for me. So grief hit me like a ton of bricks, from going to someone being your everything into losing them the next second. And you as a 14-year-old young girl, you're just figuring out, like trying to figure out why is the best person that you know in life is going through something. I mean, she was the sweetest person. No one ever had anything to say about her. I never really heard her argue with anyone. Very well respected, the sweetest angel on earth. So I was just confused. I never questioned God as of to why, but I always wondered like, what's going on and how is this possible type of thing. So grief for me is just something that just happened to me at a young age, and I had no idea how to navigate through it. So back in 2009, when grief hit me and affected me, it really affected me. I mean, it affected me out of the blue. I would be in class in high school as a freshman. I'm doing my work, and then I just boo-hoo cry. And then I would just go to the counselor's office. It got to the extreme to where my teachers didn't even ask me why. They would just nod their head and tell me to go. I mean, it was continuous, like just boohoo crying, just sadness, just as a 14-year-old, someone that was your everything, you talking to them literally 7 times a day. When I'm going to my next class, I'm on the phone with my grandma, and then them just totally not being in your life anymore. I mean, we were like this, like she was like my sister, man. Like I love her beyond words. And so when I lost her, my grandpa, you know, he's like, I know I'm not your nana, but I'll be the closest thing, because I see how bad you're hurting. So going back to when I was in classes, I mean, I would even be in basketball practice, and I would just literally be in basketball practice or in athletics, and grief would just hit me out of the blue. Like it hit me like a ton of bricks just out of the blue. And so I would just go to the counselor's office, and it got to the extreme with the counselor's office that the secretary, she would just look at me like, she's in there, sweetie. Like it was just so continuous, and it affected me so bad. Like the emotions just was taking over me. I got to the point where I couldn't function throughout day to day, but I would put this persona up like I was fine. Till this day, many people may not have even known about how bad grief hit me and how hard it was watching her just cry and lose weight and asking, why is this happening to me? And I remember crying in my bed at night. Nobody could hear me. And I was like, God, you can just give me a piece of her cancer. Just as a kid, as a 14, you're not understanding what's going on. You know, I was telling God, like, give me something to where it can ease off her. Give me something to where she could still live and be here on earth. I wanted my grandma to live so bad. I wanted her to live so bad. I wanted her to be able to be someone that I can always still confide in, because I needed that at a young age. I needed that. And then she was a woman, so we all, you know, automatically related on different things. So grief just hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, I didn't even know that I didn't know the term grieving. I didn't even know I was exactly grieving, but I knew I was going through something. I knew it was something, and I knew I had to get through it. So when it came to grief, what I had to do was, I didn't even realize that I was practicing good coping skills without even noticing it. I'm a 14-year-old. No one told me to go to the counselor's office. No one told me you need someone to talk to, because I was hiding it so well. No one really kind of knew that I was so hurt. And then looking back, I would tell young Chelsea, like, baby girl, you were so brave. You got it. You're just so smart, just full of knowledge, and just passionate about understanding your own feelings. So I knew I needed someone to talk to that wasn't family, because I didn't want to bother my dad with it. He just lost his very best friend too. I knew that I wanted someone that was just neutral, someone that can just hear me, someone that can just listen, someone that was just there for me, someone that was helping me navigate through it, but also telling me that it's okay to feel how you feel. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to go through these emotions. It's okay not to be okay in that moment, but to understand that this is not going to last forever. Grief is a process, but it's something that is going to affect you. But it's how you respond to the grief. It's how you let it interfere with your life. I could have been like always sad, always feeling negative, always wondering why. But I felt like in that moment, I'm not getting nothing out of that. I want to do something about it. Let me talk to someone to be able to live with this grief, to be able to keep going. And that's what I was able to do when I was able to talk to someone and just be in tune with myself, in tune with, yes, I'm going through something. Yes, I'm going through this. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're human and it's okay. So that's in that moment, I knew I was doing the right thing. I knew I was making a difference for myself. The only thing that I would do differently is, I think I would include my dad a little bit more. He had, I believe, no idea that I was crying myself to sleep, that I couldn't get through these things because I was hiding it so well. So I used going to the counselor while I was in school, because you have a counselor while you're going to school. When I was in Dickinson, I was going to the counselor. And to this day, I still remember her name. I still remember the facial expression she made. I still remember her comfort. I remember the love that she was giving me, even without saying anything. So what I would do differently is, I think I would include my dad more so me and him could go through that process together. But as far as the way I handled it as a 14, 15-year-old girl, I would say kudos to you, young Chelsea, because you were going through this hiding it and you still were able to press forward. You still were able to graduate with honors. You still were able to play basketball. You still were able to get these awards in basketball. You still were able to do all these high achieving things because I was able to cope with it and understand what I'm going through and how to keep going. Because I'm going to be honest, when we're in the grieving process, we're thinking about how we feel about someone leaving, but we don't think about how that person will feel about us grieving. That's when I kind of thought about it. Like, I know my Nana, I know my Papa. They will be like my grandmother, my Papa, they bragged on me so much about my grandbaby's doing this. She's accomplished this. I would get all kind of gifts and things just for making the A honor roll, just for getting perfect attendance, just for getting doing these different accomplishments in elementary. So I feel like in that moment I have to snap into it and let grief know that you're not gonna tackle me, I'm gonna tackle you. So what I had to figure out was, what would my grandmother say if she sees me going through all this hurt? What would my Papa say? They would say, I know you're going through it, but pick yourself up because I'm proud of you for what you can do. Use the tools that God has given you to get through life. Use the tools that God has given you, your knowledge, my brains. You know, that's something that has always been a plus for me, is my knowledge, how smart I am. So I feel like they would be, you know, I don't want you mourning over me. Of course, it's something that we go through because we're human, but I feel like that they would want me to keep pushing through life. Your loved ones want you to keep going. They don't want you to stop where you're at and then everything is just done. I'm just sad, I'm just depressed, I'm just this. It's okay to go through the grieving cycle and the grieving process and feel those emotions for that time being, but learn how to use the correct coping skills to keep going. So I don't think I would do anything differently. If anything, I would give my younger self a pat on the back, and looking back to where I am today and say, wow, I'm so proud of you, because look where I am. I'm a counselor, I'm a therapist, That was what my goal was, and I'm achieving it. So looking back, I know they will be extremely, extremely, extremely proud, and that's what keeps me going. Keep the memories good memories, not the memories that were bad. Losing my grandparents, first my nana, because I felt like when I was older, when my papa died, he died in 2019. It definitely hit me like a ton of bricks because I felt like I was double grieving, because I was just so extremely close to my grandparents, and I feel like I was closer to my nana first because me and her just were automatically able to click and relate because we were both women and we just both had so many similarities. Like I could go on a tangent about how a beautiful woman she is and was, smart. Everyone in the family loved her. Everyone in the family, she was the go-to person. She was the glue. My grandmother was the type of person, my nana, you couldn't say butt, you couldn't say fart, you couldn't say anything like that because it wasn't, oh, she's strict. It was a form of respect. So she was instilling that in us. It's the type of person she was. Never heard her talk bad about anyone. Definitely never heard anyone talk bad about her. So, and that's kind of how I am. She was a giver. She loved seeing other people happy, and that's kind of how I am. So I feel like me and her were able to relate just in the beginning, but I was still equally as close to my papa. My papa was just, he was still working in that time. He was still, doing things. So my nana, I was able to go with her when she was at the daycare and helping out and things like that. So she taught me a lot of stuff without even saying it. I'm forever grateful for both of them. They both taught me so much. My papa was my drag racing buddy. He taught me a lot of independence when we were out there on the track. Like, they both go hand in hand, just how smart and magnificent and wonderful people. Like my grandparents, they are my very best friends. So I feel like as far as life goes, they taught me so many lessons, but the biggest lesson is don't let anything keep you down. So it affected me to who I am today because I want to be there for people like how that counselor was for me. This was over 15 years ago, and I still remember her facial expressions. I still remember some of the things she told me, because they always say, you never forget how someone makes you feel. I'll never forget how she made me feel, and is a big part of my success as well, because I felt like she was not my grandmother in that sense, but she had some of the same similarities that was really helping me. My grandmother was a great listener. She was always there. Anytime I needed her on the phone, 2 o'clock in the morning, she was there. So I feel like all of that played a part into the success that I am today. So how did this make me to who I am today? It made me see that I'm powerful. It made me see that I can do anything, that not to let grief destroy you. Of course, it's a sad process. I'm not saying you'll be fine in 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 years or whatever. It's going to be something you always go through, but it's okay to be going through it, but not letting it get you down. Still keep the memory in your head. Still go through the grieving process and the sadness and all that stuff that comes with it, but understanding that don't let it keep you down. We all go through stuff. We all have things that we go through. But it's always how you respond to it. Don't let it destroy you. Don't let it keep you down. Show grief that you're down here and I'm up here. Don't let it stop you from anything that you're trying to do. It's okay to keep grieving and having and go through the emotions and things like that, but still accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in life. You never know who you may be helping. You never know who may need your guidance or your input, or even just your or even just you being there in your atmosphere. You never know who you could be helping in the long run. So don't let anything destroy you. So everything I went through definitely made me who I am today, for the best, for the better, being my best self, being my best me, because I was able to navigate my emotions. I was able to navigate and not run from how I feel. I was able to express it and embrace it when I was going through it. I didn't tuck it to the side or I'm okay. I was honest about how I felt. Maybe I didn't show it with my parents a lot of the time, but when I was in school and I was going through the emotions, I was still able to go to the counselor's office. I still was able to be my best self. I was still able to be my best self by understanding that yes, I'm going through this, but I'm gonna have it heightened. I'm not gonna keep grief in an eye's worth. I'm gonna keep grief down here and I'm gonna keep leveling up. So just knowing that, not letting anything destroy you, knowing that you can do all things. You never know who may be watching you. You never know who you may be influencing, but just understanding that life is going to keep going. It's all about how you respond to it. You can use grief in a positive way. I want to make my relative or whoever that passed away, I want to make them proud of me. What would they say about what I'm going through today? So I feel like all that played a part into who I am and who I want to be and who I can be, because it all starts within me.